Hi everyone, I'm Kacela from Lakeview.
And I'm Stavro from Stavro High School.
And today's topic is on area by subdivision.
Area by subdivision is very useful, not just in school but in daily life. And school can be useful to, like, if you have a story problem, you can break up the story problem into sections and solve each part to figure the whole problem out. Or let's say, like, in a daily life issue would be like, let's say your car doesn't work, you can fix each part of it, put it together so then it can work. These are two examples of how it can be very useful.
The purpose of this presentation is to teach area and the importance of Common Core state standards. The Common Core state standards are standards that all students are supposed to know during their school years, and it's important because it helps students be successful in college and it helps them be able to solve problems in their daily life. And here's an example of a Common Core state standard.
Our Common Core state standard is 6GA1. The 6 stands for 6th grade, the G stands for geometry, the A stands for the section, and the 1 stands for the chapter.
So, does anyone know what area is?
That's basically the base times the height.
Yeah. So in this figure over here, in the triangle, or in the rectangle, the square units represent the area that cover the triangle or the rectangle.
A square is a quadrilateral with all congruent sides and 90-degree angles. And does anyone know the area formula for a square?
It's the side length squared.
Okay.
So it's basically base times height. In this square figure, we have the base, which is 4, and the height, which is 4. So if you multiply 4 times 4, you get 16, which is squared, which is the area of the square. And in that square, it shows how the tick marks represent the congruency of the sides of the square, and the 90-degree angles show that each square has 90-degree angles.
Okay, wait. A rectangle is a quadrilateral with opposite and congruent parallel sides and all 90-degree angles. And does anyone know the area formula for a rectangle?
That is also area equals base times height.
You're correct.
And in this rectangle, we have the base, which is 9, and the height, which is 4. Multiply that, you get 36 centimeters squared, which is also the area of the rectangle. And in that rectangle over there, same thing, the tick marks represent congruency, and each rectangle has 90-degree angles.
A triangle is a three-sided figure, and it totals to 180 degrees when you discuss angles. And does anyone know the area formula for a triangle?
Down.
1/2 base times.
Here. These two triangles, this one's a right triangle, that's an acute triangle, and that's an obtuse triangle. You can use the same formula for all of them. In this right triangle, we have the base, which is 3, and the height, which is 4. If you multiply those, you get 12, and then divide it by 2 to get 6, which is squared, which is the area of the triangle.
A parallelogram is a quadrilateral, and it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. And does anyone know the area formula for a parallelogram?
That's all.
That would be base times height. Yeah.
Correct. So in that parallelogram, we have the base, which is 6 centimeters, and the height, which is 5. So that means the area is 30 centimeters squared. And another way that you can find the area of the parallelogram is when you draw in the height, you form a right 90-degree triangle. And then if you move that triangle, which like this one, same thing as that one, if you move the triangle over, you can form a rectangle, which is an easy shape to work with.
A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with only 1 pair of parallel sides. And does anyone know the formula for a trapezoid?
The formula is base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So in this trapezoid, we have one base, which is 4.5, and the other one, which is 7.5. Together, they make up 12 centimeters. And if you multiply the height, that would be 36 centimeters squared, which is the area of, or you divide it by 2, and you get 18 centimeters squared, which is the area of the trapezoid. And then in here too, once you draw in the height, you get a 90-degree right triangle. And if you move that over, you can form a rectangle, which is also an easy shape to work with.
A regular polygon is a figure that has all congruent sides and angles. And in order to find the area, you would have to find the area of one triangle and multiply it by the number of triangles that's in the shape.
So in this hexagon, it shows that the hexagon has 6 equilateral triangles. If you find the area of one of them, you can just multiply by 6 and then find the whole area of the hexagon.
A composite shape is a shape that can be divided into 2 or more shapes. And this figure is a composite figure because it has more than one basic shape.
We said there's 4 different shapes in here, and if you find the area of each one of them and add it up, you can find the area of the whole figure.
In order to find the area through subdivision, you have to first figure out the missing sides, and then break the figure into smaller shapes and find the area of each shape. And then you have to add the areas together to find the area of the entire figure. So to find the perimeter of the shape, you would have to add all the shapes together. So it would be 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and that equals 32 centimeters.
To do the area, you can just separate the two shapes and then find the area of both of them. So the triangle, the rectangle, the area is 32 centimeters, and the square is 16 centimeters. If you add them together, you get 48 centimeters squared. In this square, it shows that all the sides are 4 centimeters, which causes the area to be 16 centimeters squared. Now the square is going to enlarge, and it's showing comparison between the two squares. Now each side length is 8 centimeters, and the area is 64 centimeters squared. So it shows that if you go from one side length to the other side length, you could just multiply by 2. And then if you want to go from the first area to the second area, you just factor it by root 2, the square root. And then if you do 2 times 2 to the square root of 2, and 2 to the power of 2, we get 4. And then if you multiply 16 times 4, you get 64 centimeters squared.
So a real world application of this would be if your parents wanted to retile the kitchen floor because it looked awful, and they wanted to know how much tile they needed because they didn't want to overpay for it. So they would just find the area of the floor and buy the amount of tile that matched the area. So in conclusion, 6th graders should know how to find area. Area is the amount of square units in a figure, and finding the area can solve real world problems. Here's our excited.
Any questions? Okay, and now we have an area contest quiz. And then you have to find the perimeter of one shape and then the area of the other shape. The first person to get both answers right, they get a prize.
Go.
One is 43 inches. Yeah, I can't get up to. It's 60 centimeters squared on the line.
For this one?
60. Yeah. No?
Joe.
64.
Not for this one.
70. It's 70 centimeters squared.
Kendall.
Number 1 is 64 inches, and number 2 is, 80 centimeters cubed or squared.
No, you got one of them right, but not the other.
88.
18.
Oh my gosh, wait. Yeah.
It's 80.
88. Yeah.
Kendall.
So I got the first one right, but not the
Second. You got the second one right.
Oh, okay, okay.
First one 43 inches, second one 80 centimeters squared.
Oh my God.
Right.
The first one is 48 inches and the second one is 80 centimeters squared.
I just noticed there was a triangle.
I had my hands on it.
Then-
I had the answer. It's 43. You didn't have it right, Dominic.
I
had
got
to-
it and I got my
meant to
number.
say
so I was
88.
like, oh.
Near you.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Mine is like all good.
It's
So-
interesting that you were 5 off.